Yeah, you'd have to say, I love them, they're fabulous for me to say.
Great. Good morning. I'll call the January 16th, 2014 meeting of the Minneapolis Zoning and Planning Committee to order. I'm Lisa Bender. I'm the chair of the committee. I'm joined by my vice chair, Andrew Johnson, and council members Lisa Goodman, Barb Johnson, and Abdi Warsami. I expect council member Kevin Reich to join us as well. And we do have a quorum. There are 4 items on the agenda today. Items 1 and 2 are proposed for consent, and item 3 has been withdrawn by the applicant. For item 4, we'll have a public hearing. So I'll start with the consent agenda. Item 1 is an application by ESG Architects on behalf of France Development LLP to rezone the property located at 4525 France Avenue from C1 Neighborhood Corridor Commercial District to R5 Multiple Family District to allow for a 3-story multiple family dwelling with 31 units and 41 parking spaces. Item 2 is an application by Donna Sanders on behalf of AL Tigers LLC to rezone the property located at 1529 and a half and 1531 Monroe Street Northeast from R2B 2-family district to R2B 2-family district and TP Transitional Parking Overlay District to allow for a new reception or meeting hall within an existing commercial building and a new accessory parking lot. Item 3 has been withdrawn by the applicant. So are there any questions from the committee regarding items 1 through 3, or does anyone wish to move any of the items from consent to discussion? Seeing none, I will move approval of items 1 through 3 on consent, including the withdrawal of item 3. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. The motion is adopted. It's 9:34, and I'll now open our public hearing. Item 4 is an appeal filed by Brandon Champeau with United Properties of the decision of the Planning Commission associated with the approvals for a conditional use permit to allow 2 wall signs that are over 120 square feet and located higher than 28 feet on the building wall located at 524 5th Street North. And we'll first hear from staff. Ms. Dvorak.
Good morning, council members. This is an appeal filed by the United Properties. The National Marrow Donor Program headquarters development was at the City Planning Commission on December 2nd, and the project was approved. One of the applications was a conditional use permit to allow 2 wall signs over 120 square feet and higher than 28 feet on the wall. So just for a reference, this is the zoning map, and the parcel shaded in gray is the subject property. This is the site plan for the development that was approved. The request for the wall signs had a wall sign on this side of the building and on that side of the building. And just to show you where those signs are, they are the area at the top of the building highlighted in orange. This is the side of the building that faces 5th Street, or the Twins station of the former interchange project. And then this is the side of the building that is on the north side, or the river side of the building. When this went through Planning Commission, staff had recommended approval of the conditional use permit to allow 1 wall sign facing the interchange project, but we did recommend that they not have a wall sign facing the north side of the building because it faces the Warehouse Historic District, and this is a map showing the Warehouse Historic District, so everything shaded in gray is located in that historic district. This is the subject site. You can see that the 2 wall signs, or the 2 areas highlighted in orange, are where the signs would be located. And so you can see that this sign that would have been on that north side of the building would have been highly visible from the Warehouse Historic District, and as it was located at the top of the building. And the Historic District guidelines don't allow signs this tall. So for that reason, we recommended that they not have a wall sign facing the Historic District. So the Planning Commission upheld that recommendation and approved a conditional use permit to allow 1 wall sign with the condition that there be no wall sign located or facing the Warehouse Historic District. And that condition is what the applicant today, or the appellant today, is appealing. And so that is the situation before you this morning. I have heard that the applicant has requested or will be requesting, I believe, a sign on the west side of the building. So where the blue X is on the site plan. What I had received from the applicant via email this week was this elevation. So this is that elevation facing that west side of the building. And as you can see here, those properties and that portion of the Warehouse Historic District would have sight lines to that sign. The other item that I want to point out about the location of this sign specifically is that this area of the building was a light box. That's what was approved at the Planning Commission, was that that and the east side of that top mechanical penthouse was a light box, similar to what you see at the top of the Target building where they have the fish tank moving around. That's how I envision what this would be. The specifics of what the light box would be haven't been determined, but that's what I imagine it would look like, something similar. We had a very specific condition that the light box not be used for signage. So in this case, having the sign on the west side where the light box was wouldn't be allowed. And they did not appeal that condition because they've made some decisions after the Planning Commission and after the appeal period. So moving forward, I'm not sure if this is what the applicant is going to be requesting or asking for today, but this is what was delivered to me. And I do want to point out that because of the specific condition that the light box not be used for signs, I don't believe we could allow a sign on this elevation, or at least in this elevation of the building. So I'm sorry if I confuse matters even more, but I did want to point that out because that did come up on Tuesday of this week. So I'm here if there's any questions.
Are there any questions for staff? No. Okay, seeing no further discussion from the committee, I'll open the public hearing and start by asking if the appellant is present and would like to speak. When you do speak, please state your name and address for the record.
Good morning. Bill Catter, Executive Vice President of United Properties. I am joined here this morning by Dr. Jeffrey Chell, the Chief Executive Officer of the National Marrow Donor Program. He'll speak after me, and Michael Booth, their Chief Strategy Officer. And I will speak to just a little bit of the technical aspects of this request, and then I think they would like to speak about their mission and the importance of this signage to their organization and why they selected this site. And I want to thank Planner Dvorak here. She did a good job of summarizing what we're looking for. And I'll just add a few things there that may be helpful here in your consideration of this request. So with that, I will put the same graphic up here that shows the location of the project with respect to the historic warehouse district. And one thing we'd like to call your attention to, the west elevation here, if we took a view cone of the proposed signage on this building, we think would have very limited visibility from the rest of the historic district. And moreover, I'd like to point out, and I apologize because I don't know the name of the facility, but there's a large intervening structure at 6th and 4th Avenue. It's a residential project, and I believe it's 6 to 8 stories. And we believe, based on our experience in looking out the 7th floor of Ford Center and looking west, that you are not able to see past that structure to the west. So in other words, we believe the sign here on the top of this building facing west will not be visible from the far west end of the historic district, which is the only place it would be visible from.
Madam Chair,
Councilmember Goodman.
if it won't be visible, why do you want it?
Yeah, great question. What it is visible from is the avenues into the west end of the downtown Minneapolis on Highway 55,
So
which
it's
becomes
advertising for people who are coming in from Highway 55 then. If that's what you're trying to get at, people coming in, then it's just straight up advertising.
I think it's brand awareness for a nonprofit and their mission, and I'm going to let them speak to why this is important to them. I don't want to address that without giving them a chance to address that. But I understand
Okay,
what
but
you're saying.
I just think if you're trying to make the argument, well, no one really will be impacted, oh, except for all the people who drive in, then you make the point that people will be impacted by it.
Well, all form of signage, Commissioner Goodman, is some form of advertising or brand marketing. So I acknowledge that point. Okay, with that, I'm going to put up the elevation here that we are proposing. It's slightly better than, and we just got this done yesterday, but is there a way to zoom in on this? So this shows the proposed location of the sign at the top of the building, and it is true that the initial application had a light box also on this west elevation on the penthouse level, and we'd like to remove the request to proceed with a light box up here. So we are okay foregoing that here, but we would like the signage here at this location or this elevation, and we are willing to work with staff here to determine whether the western elevation or the west elevation is preferred from staff's standpoint here. And I think we also have some flexibility as to whether it's on the penthouse or it's on the top level of the building, if there are concerns about it continuing to be visible from anywhere in the historic district. So, but that is the request, that we remove the light box and then we be permitted to do a project sign on this elevation as well. And with that, if there are other questions for me, I'll answer them. Otherwise, I'll ask that Dr. Chell speak to this. Very good. Thank you.
And then I'll just remind speakers to please sign in with the clerk before or after you speak today.
Thank you. Jeffrey Chell, the CEO of the National Marrow Donor Program, as well as the Executive Director of the Center for International Blood and Marrow Transplant Research. We're very excited about bringing our 900 staff from northeastern Minneapolis, near Roseville, to downtown Minneapolis. And I'm one of 4 generations of family that have lived in the north side in North Minneapolis. And so I'm excited about bringing these staff to an area that I think is important to all of us. We have labored over the last 30 years as the National Marrow Donor Program. And that name means nothing to what our mission is today, because our mission is truly global. We're larger than a program. We save lives through more than just bone marrow. So that name no longer really represents who we are, and we've been rebranding ourselves as Be the Match. And yet we still remain one of the best kept secrets in the Twin Cities. We have over 900 employees. This year we'll have over $400 million in revenue. 98% of those revenues are generated outside of Minneapolis, outside of Minnesota, and are brought right home for all of us. It's a global mission. We're the largest organization of our kind anywhere in the world. In fact, of the 67 bone marrow registries worldwide, we're one of those, and yet we're half of the total donors that are in the world and half of the transplants that are done in the world. And yet we're only meeting 40% of the need in the United States. And these are people with life-threatening blood diseases for which there is no other therapy. In other words, we're the last resort for folks with these diseases. And their likelihood of survival without a transplant is often 8 weeks or less. And yet with a transplant, 1-year survivals today are 65% or better. And if you live 1 year, you have a 90% chance of surviving longer. And yet We've had trouble attracting employees. We've had trouble helping people understand what our mission is, so they'll voluntarily join the registry and help us save lives, because our program is built on the foundation of volunteerism. Altruistic individuals who are willing to sign up for the registry, donate their blood or their marrow, and help us save a life. And our mission is truly international. Half the transplants we facilitate are across an international border. So for a person in the United States who needs a transplant, 25% of the time the best possible match comes from outside of the United States, and 25% of the people who donate in the United States are donating to somebody worldwide. So as we looked at rebranding ourselves as Be the Match, number one, and number two, where the new location of our international headquarters would be, we wanted to significantly increase the visibility of who we are and what we do. And what better place to do that than near the interchange, near Highways 55 and Interstate 94, and right in the city in which I grew up, and many of our employees, as well as our program, grew up as it emerged from the Red Cross and the University of Minnesota back 30 years ago. So as we looked at 12 different locations throughout the greater metro area, we really felt that this particular site met our needs. We felt it would help us attract the best and the brightest people to join our mission, to increase the visibility within our own community of who we are and what we do, being close to the Twin Stadium with the opportunity of having this visible by people all over the country as they tune into the Twins games and other events that happen at the stadium, all seem to fit very nicely as to where we're going with our mission. And we continue to look for growth. You know, even during the time of the recession, we were growing by 50 to 70 employees per year because our mission continues to grow because the need is still great. And so we look forward to partnering with the city and really making a significant impact and impression on the North Loop area. We're wonderful citizens, wonderful neighbors, but we do look forward to increasing our visibility and the understanding of our mission. So with that, I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers who'd like to address the council committee? Okay. All right, perfect. Seeing no other comments, I'll close the public hearing. Reminding people to sign in with the clerk. And so is there any discussion from council members? Councilmember Goodman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to move to deny the appeal. This should be no surprise. Every time we have a great organization along with a great developer coming in and asking to build a building in downtown, they want lots of signage. And if you look at the way the city has been developed, especially within the downtown area, we've really resisted this idea that every building be branded with its headquarters tenants or its tenants. And so it doesn't look like downtown St. Paul, and there's a reason for that. In this particular situation, we are very strong supporters of Be the Match coming here, so much so that we've just recently approved in my committee this week a $1 million grant request from DEED in order for United Properties to move forward on this site, a request that perhaps would, because of its importance, rule out other important projects in the city. So the city's commitment to this project goes to endorsing a fairly significant grant request for this site. And so I don't think this is a question of whether or not we want Be the Match to be here or we like this developer, this project. This is about whether or not there's some sort of exception to our general rule that we do not want to see these lit signs in and around historic districts. The staff recommended against it. The Planning Commission recommended against it. And ultimately, what I hear is we've removed the public art component of the light project in order to get our sign. So I think that that's a poor trade-off, not a good trade-off. So I very strongly believe that we should not be granting this appeal. Otherwise, every good organization and nonprofit coming to town will ask us for additional sign that exceeds the code, and I think we need to be consistent. If we open the door on this, we might as well just open the door to everyone else that wants to come in and exceed our sign requirements.
Thank you, Councilmember Goodman. We have a motion to deny the appeal. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Johnson, Barb Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question for staff. Is there another place on the building that would be lower that the signage could go and be in compliance?
The applicant, as of right through zoning, could have a 120 square foot sign that's not taller than 28 feet above grade.
So where would that go on the building then? Like the second story there? I'm just thinking about visibility from Olson Highway. You would, at a lower elevation, you might be able to see from Olson Highway.
I'm looking at this, I don't have measurements
Yeah.
on here, I just have materials called out on my elevation. Just looking at this, this reads almost as a sign band on the lower portion of the building. I don't know what the overall height is there. But there is, there are areas, this is that elevation facing the west, showing the street grade. And so 28 feet may be somewhere in this area, which is where that change of material is located. And so there, I could work with them and that would be allowed without coming back through Planning Commission.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Goodman.
Madam Chair, Council President Johnson, that's a very good question. I'm glad you asked that because I can give you another example of another really good big hometown company, Ameriprise, that came in and wanted a sign at the top of their building, and we told them no, they couldn't have a sign at the top of their building. I believe that's at 2nd and 6th, and they ended up putting a fairly significant monument sign at grade. It looks beautiful. It's very textured. It kind of fits in with the streetscape. So we have told many others no to this. And they can get a lot more signage, actually, if they're just not in the air. So I appreciate the fact that you made that suggestion.
Is there any other discussion? All right, then on the motion to deny the appeal, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The motion carries.
Lisa.
Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further business before us, we are adjourned. Thank you.